This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the Treasury, get on mandate. Get it on. And welcome to the best 15 minutes or so in the universe. It's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt.
You'll notice that I could have been out of town yesterday, and I could be anywhere. But the mere prospect of coming here and seeing your smiling face, I'd go there. I would drive a half hour just to spend 15 minutes outside.
God love you. I know. I'm smiling because we're just talking about a Trans Am race.
Yeah, but by the way, now that you're professional, why aren't you on the circuit?
Probably do better in other endeavors that involve comedy or talking about the law as we know it. But I did do an early race a few years ago at Willow Springs. I got a podium, which is third place. If anyone ever says podium, they're talking about third place.
Right, because if they won, you'd say I got the checkered flag.
And second, you'd hear about it, but took the podium.
Took the podium on the dais.
I got a few points, and there was some discussion about getting in the car again and trying to keep the points drive alive, but it just didn't come together. It's first of all, it was really expensive. I mean, not for me.
You have to, not for you, but the sponsor, right?
Yeah, I mean, these semi-trucks come out from Florida. They set up. They have techs and mechanics and backup cars and spares.
No,
and
it's
tires
a village to get these things
It's a whole village, and people get paid, and the cars are really expensive, and they put you in them. So they got to kind of trust you, you know?
Yeah. I was telling Gary before, it's almost like your favorite show, pardon the interruption, right? We got so many stories today. I think the first one I wanted to start off with was Maxwell, Maximum Maxwell. They had the hearing today on juror number 50, Scotty David. Yeah. I always mispronounce the first name. Apparently, according to Twitter, Gary's the only one who knows how to do it.
My understanding is it's Ghislaine.
Ghislaine?
Yeah. Ghislaine.
Seriously, Ghislaine.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You better move off of Ghislaine if you got a daughter.
Now move off of Ghislaine if you're a prominent personality. So they in front of Judge Nathan and the
I can't. By the way, I'm living in a world where half the country is saying Kyiv and the other half is going, it's still Kiev.
Well, look, when you order the meal, do you say chicken?
Kyiv?
No. I've never heard anybody say, I'll take the chicken. Are you serving? Did you run out of chicken Kyiv?
Right.
I've never heard that.
That's right.
Like beef, what, Wellington?
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
That's right.
Okay, so that's how I start. So Ghislaine, they did the hearing in front of Judge Nathan on juror number 50, Scotty David, or David Scotty. He didn't go by his full name.
Yeah, Scotty David is apparently his first and middle name. So that's how he identified himself.
Catman?
What's that?
Is that
the Catman.
Oh, he has
exactly.
Yeah.
Catman.
That's him.
And by the way, just like, we'd made comparisons to the strawberry shortcake Peterson juror, just like in that case, where she invoked the fifth, he invoked the fifth. The prosecutor gave immunity in Peterson, prosecutor here, Southern District, the feds gave immunity. He then got up there. The judge had asked for questions from both Ghislaine's lawyers and the prosecutors and asked the questions. Basically, to summarize, his testimony was he was distracted. It was noisy. I kind of went through the questions really fast, and I was not trying to get onto the jury. But yes, I was false when I answered that question. And in fact, question, whatever it was, number 47 or 48. 48 should have been yes, and it was me that I had been. And he says he was embarrassed. He didn't like to reveal these things, although the judge did ask, I'm sure, at the behest of the defense lawyers, well, if you were so embarrassed, why did you go on TV and share it with the world? And his response was, well, I was emboldened, basically, or freed up or liberated by the complaining witnesses in the trial.
So what's this going to result in?
The judge ordered dueling briefs, filed at the same time a week from today, and then she's going to issue an order either compelling or suggesting oral argument, or she's just going to rule. I'm going to guess that she's going to deny, if I'm going to prognosticate, the order for new trial, and she's going to say that he did not try to get onto the jury for an illicit purpose or having an agenda, or what I've always called stealth juror, and then it's going to have to go up to the circuit.
And the defense is going to
The defense will take it up to the circuit. The defense is going to say this is an outrage, and it is, frankly, because he already testified that he converted, if you will, or persuaded several of the jurors who were on the fence who were not guilty voters by introducing material that was not within the four corners of the trial.
So once it gets to the circuit, then what?
The circuit, I think, needs to reverse it. I mean,
and then what?
And then she would get a new trial, or they would work out some kind of a deal for time served, would be my guess. Speaking of which, also this week, the U.S. Supreme Court, right, Gary? What'd they do? Now, let's see if you can guess which story, because they've done quite a bit.
Well,
I'm not talking...
We could talk about an entertainer.
Yes, there you go. Bill Cosby.
Mm-hmm. I'd heard his name.
So Bill, who's been on pins and needles to see whether or not the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling authored by Cyril Wecht's son would be reversed, and it does not like it's not going to happen. So
they just declined to hear the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
what's that mean?
He's in the clear.
He's in the clear. He's done.
So he's done.
Bill can now do the comedy tour.
And, well, he should pull his pants up first, and then he could go out.
Well, isn't that what he advises people? Pull your pants up.
Look.
There's a certain degree of irony.
You talk to your clients this way a lot, I'm sure. You know, James Franco went out with a, Time's Up button on his lapel at some award show, and somebody saw it and went, that poser with his Me Too bullshit. That guy's a teacher. I got a bunch of students who he was counseling, a bunch of young females. Next thing you know, boom. He's out in the cornfield.
Exactly.
Bill Cosby says, hey, young black man, pull up your trousers. And Hannibal Buress goes, fuck that guy. Then he does a bunch of stand-up based on him being a lech and drugging chicks. And the next thing you know, we're inside of a courtroom.
Right. And then, by the way...
how about Bill Gates?
I was going to say Bill Gates. I was going to say Alec Baldwin. I mean, how about Alec Baldwin?
Put your head down.
We sat here. How many times? We must have done 3-4 shows where we said, what the hell are you doing? And sure enough, what comes out? Exactly what we said. We said, Alec, you are just inflaming the widower. And sure enough, the guy not only finds Brian Panish to file the lawsuit, but then says the reason I did it is when he shook his responsibility.
Well, it's interesting because I always say it's like this old playbook, this publicist playbook, get out, Kathy Griffin, do a news, do a presser, get out in front of this, let the world know. That's from 1999. The new one is put your head down and keep walking. And there was an adage. It was around for a million years. It's dead now. There's no bad press. There's just press. They're talking about you. They're not. No, there is. It's all bad press now.
You want to know the ultimate? Somebody just joked. Putin cured COVID, right? Well, let me explain something. What happened to COVID? We're losing, and I saw something last week. We've lost the same number of people in 2 days that we did at 9/11.
Right.
Do you hear anything about it?
No.
Not a thing, right? Done.
Yes.
You just put your head down, and boom, you move on. And then what do you say about Newsom? I mean, maybe he found himself. Maybe he's, no, he saw the polling. Boom, it's gone.
Yeah, except for my son at school, who I was talking to last night about what the fuck he's wearing a mask for. I said, don't wear a mask. Just go in there and go, they've dropped the mask sanctions in L.A. County. Like, can we turn the goddamn page? The school teachers, the unions, they're hanging on with two hands to this thing. It's like, look, whether you're a school teacher or whether you're a union rep, if COVID is the best thing that happened to you in the last 10 years, you better fucking find a mirror and take a long look into it. It's like, this is the best thing that happened to them. It's the greatest thing that happened to L.A. County, to Barbara Ferrer. Just let it go.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing.
They can't. They can't let it go. It's impossible, and they're just going to keep doubling down and keep doubling down. But like I walked by on Foothill this morning, the Chevron station. Did you see what gas was there today?
Has it got to $6?
Oh yeah,
yet?
$6.19 for premium, $6.03 for.
Christ.
I was on the phone and I said, I'm old enough to remember when I could fill up my car, the Pontiac station wagon, for $6 and change.
Yeah, and get some blue chip trading stamps.
You get the stamps, and you get the little. You go to 76, you get the orange little styrofoam ball to put in the antenna. Yeah. $6.19.
And the number to really look at is you scroll down to the bottom of the sandwich board with the prices on it. Is diesel.
Yeah.
Because diesel is as much or more than regular.
It was more than regular.
More than regular, and every single item we have is brought to us via diesel. And so whatever it is you want brought to your home or your land or your city or your state, be prepared to have that charge tacked on to it. Although I was playing this for Gary earlier, the Kamala Harris talking about the imagining a world where every diesel and have you seen this one?
No.
It is perfect. So diesel is how all the trucks are moved and how all the goods and commerce get propelled around the country and the world. And I would imagine, Gary, you can look it up too at some point after Kamala, but I would imagine shipping container ships, they must be powered by diesel because they're not nuclear. To the best of my knowledge. Here it is. Now, she has a solution to the cost of diesel, and I'll tell you why. She has something that you and I lack. It's called an imagination. Here it is.
Imagine a future. The freight trucks that deliver bread and milk to our grocery store shelves, and the buses that take children to school and parents to work. Imagine all the heavy-duty vehicles that keep our supply lines strong and allow our economy to grow. Imagine that they produced zero emissions. Well, you all imagined it. That's why we're here today. Because we have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen.
This could, it's almost a TED Talk. Weren't you inspired?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to get one of those electric 18-wheelers that she will have nothing to do with the production of. Well, I have to let Elon figure that one out. But you can imagine that world.
Elon seems to have a problem with this administration. Have you noticed?
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you have the guy who heads up Tesla explaining how important fossil fuel is to a nation, that means he's probably hit his breaking point.
He has no more patience, as I've noticed.
No, he doesn't. And Adam, to answer your previous question, yes, they run on diesel combustion engines as well as diesel generators that power the ships.
Imagine how much diesel is spent getting one of those 600-foot container ships fully loaded here from some ports of call on the other side of the world.
Didn't one of them just sink with a zillion Porsches and
Bentley,
Lamborghinis as well, Volkswagen
as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that headed?
Here.
Yeah. LA port?
I'm not sure if it was L.A., but it was to the States because there were the stories about a bunch of rich people who were pissed that their exotics were not going to get here.
Yeah, I know now. That's what we should do. You know what you should do? Because you know people hate you.
Yes.
You should be.
Although, with Cain, I've noticed that all of a sudden people are really kind of inside out. They don't know what to do.
Well, you should send out a tweet saying, look, my heart breaks for the citizens of Ukraine, but I had a Bentley with an Alcantara headliner, and it was on that ship. And I promised my daughter that we would go for a ride through Griffith Park this weekend, and now it sits at the bottom of the sea. And again, my heart bleeds for the fine men and women of the Ukraine, but we all have our problems. Please tweet that out.
Speaking of being hated, the Armenians, I think I've mentioned this before, find ourselves in an unenviable position here with Ukraine because Zelensky, who is now the world's hero, was a key supplier to the Azerbaijanis as they were invading Artsakh and slaughtering Armenians. And then, Armenia only exists right now because of the intercession of Putin. So it's almost a schizophrenic to be Armenian American here and have the mainstream media cheerleading for Ukraine and free Ukraine and glory to be Ukraine at the same time that we know they were supplying all kinds of weaponry and military armaments and training to the Azerbaijanis. But it's a wild time we live in where you get whiplash from how you're supposed to embrace what media outlet.
I love watching the award shows now. I just watched the Independent Spirit Awards and the SAG Awards, and they're all praising Ukraine in their speech. At least they've given us a little break from the LGBT community and that bloviation for 10 minutes. But they're all down, which just shows how actors are, right? They know anything about the Ukraine. They've never heard of the Klitschko brothers.
I would just if you could pick it out of on a map first. That's all before you go and tell me glory be, at least show me that you know where it is and that you know where Moldova is and maybe Romania, and just throw in Belarus just, for an added bonus points, as my professor in high school used to say, bonus points if you can tell me where Belarus is.
Well, do we have time for one more?
Well, I think we do. There's Gary, which one do you want to pick?
We've got several more. I mean, let's do a brief update on Cain, and then let's talk about the Lester Holt Bill Barr thing.
Okay, so I was up there in San Jose yesterday with an outpouring of supporters like you wouldn't believe. The judge would not set a bail. He was no bail originally when arrested. It's mind-boggling to me that we live in a world where he was not notified that the molester
Cain
was not notified. By the way, I'll break a little news. The person who was molested, they keep saying a relative. It was it was a direct descendant. I'll go there.
How much is, so for me, bail and flight risk are one of those things,
I had both
risk.
passports, both his and his wife's, and offered them to the court, held them up. She wasn't worried about flight. The DA had argued. The judge was not worried.
Well,
the DA had argued, by the way, that there is no presumption of innocence on bail. I said to the judge, this is incredible. I'm standing in an American courtroom in 2022, and I've got a prosecutor who has filed written paperwork saying there is no presumption of innocence in a bail hearing. And I said, when was I around? Where was I? I must have been asleep when the Constitution was repealed. She agreed with me there, but she took the position that it's too great a risk or too great a danger. So somebody outside had a good point. They said
a risk or danger to the pedophile?
Correct. Yeah, to the pedophile. They said there's one person who's probably home on their couch eating Cheetos, watching TV. There's another person who's in custody and not home with his family. And by the way, there is a argument to be made, in addition, that the unreasonable person is the person who doesn't get told by the prosecutor that we've just released the molester back into your neighborhood. They didn't tell him.
Right.
Wasn't told. He finds out some other way that we didn't tell him that it was, and then he finds out later that we released him and we didn't charge him a penny's worth of bail, and that he's free to go about his business. And we didn't tell you that, but you're supposed to take care of your family. You're supposed to let the system, quote unquote, do its thing.
So how long is he in there before the trial?
Depends on, to some degree, we control that. And as soon as I get discovery, that we'll move forward. I don't have all of the discovery I want, and I still need to do investigation.
Is he in protective custody?
I think they need to have. Yes, he's in what they have a keep away section.
He's isolated. I don't think he needs protective custody, right?
Well, yeah. I was going to go there, but I don't want to.
No, but what I'm saying is Mike Tyson has security. You know what I mean? Like, people recognize Mike Tyson. They want to try him out at the bar, and he has guys. Now, who needs security less than Mike Tyson? I don't know, but that's kind of how we work as a society. So he's separate.
Yeah, they keep him in a separate section. He's at that jail. And
how's his spirits?
He's tremendous. I mean, just tremendous. I mean, he's a very impressive. I'll tell you, the other person that's very impressive, his wife, Michelle, is just a doll and is resilient, and it's incredible.
I will make this observation, which is Cain, who I know a little bit. I did one of the Celebrity Grand Prix Toyota races with him some years ago. Had some time to hang out a little bit, as you do when you do those events, and I was impressed by the guy. But
he is an impressive guy.
It's interesting that in order to do what he did, which is, wrestle at the high level and UFC at the highest level, you need a lot of intestinal fortitude, because it's just a lot of days in the gym and a lot of repetition. I mean, anyone who's done wrestling at a high level knows it's just running bleachers until you want to throw up and whatever like that. And those guys seem to have dominion over themselves a little better. They have to be able to make the pain go away and that kind of stuff. And I would think that they would be better suited to be confined that way than a rap star who's on yachts and living the life and, used to doing whatever, whenever, all the time. Because you can be a star of the UFC, but at some point, camp's going to start, and you got to go back to altitude training, no wives, no girlfriends, no soda pop, no dessert. You really... Yeah,
there's when you call it intestinal fortitude, I always call it extreme patience, I guess, long distance runners or
right.
People who train every single day for some kind of rigorous thing. It's more of it's really mental training in a lot of ways. I mean, the physical obviously comes along with it.
Right, and that's why a lot of guys, after they get really rich, they stop being the champ because they don't want to put themselves through the pain when they're coming from the penthouse.
Wait, I hate to do this to you because we're more than 15 minutes, but anytime I see you, I want to just keep talking. There's two other stories. One is U.S. Supreme Court. For all those people who have been kind of slimming it, there was a decision. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day, but I think it was yesterday. And
I think it was.
On the rewriting of the maps, and they left the state court rewriting of the congressional maps.
North Carolina and Pennsylvania.
Correct. Which is interesting because the kind of informed or smart money was saying it was going to be the opposite. That actually, as of right now, depending, because there's yet a second step or shoe that may fall, as of right now, that gives a leg up to the Democrats, because those are some districts that, if they had been invalidated by the U.S. Supreme Court, would have gone presumably to the Republicans.
So it's kind of a gerrymandering thing?
Exactly.
All right, now I got someone waiting on me.
Yes. This is two hard outs in a row for you.
I know. Well, now it's just a notary.
Well, we have very good news, though. We will be dropping the big show tomorrow, and we will have Mark again in studio. So we've got a lot of in-studio Reasonable Doubt coming your way this week.
And this Thursday, I'll be in Waukegan, Illinois, at the Genesee Theater, so you can come on by and say hi. Yeah, I think Kansas City sold out, so I hear. But come on out. What do you got, Mark?
We've got the Gigi's down at V is really killing it. You ought to stop by there, and the weather is great. Casa Tropicana, the Pierside restaurant there. If you're in New York City, go to Grand Central Terminal for Prova, or at Moxie in Times Square.
So until next time, Adam Carolla for Mark Garriga saying mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.